So you remember when we were kids and like Halloween came around, you went out, you went trick-or-treating, you get back home, your parents had to go through every single little piece of candy because there was this big scare in the 80s about poison candy.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you know that never was a thing?
What?
One guy.
Today on the show.
Good morning, Scallywag.
Tuesday, we are literally 24 hours away.
Eve, indeed.
Halloween.
So when you, and of course this whole month we've been doing true life scary stories, and we're wrapping that up with a big one today. So when you hear the word Candyman, you might think of Willy Wonka or Tony Todd with a hook on his hand and bees coming out his mouth and chest and stuff.
The song really gets
yeah, or Sammy Davis. Yeah, you might think of that. But no, the notorious Candyman was actually a guy by the name of Ronald Clark O'Brien, who back in the late 70s actually poisoned his own son with Halloween candy.
So he made him eat too much of it?
Oh, no. Much worse than that.
Oh.
But this one guy is actually where that whole thing from back in the 80s, and it's still around today, where parents are like, oh, the Halloween candy is poison. You got to check every single little piece for any little thing.
Not that you can actually test for poison at your in-home lab.
Yeah, right. But you make sure it's not been tampered with and whatnot. But no, this is actually where that whole thing started. Believe it or not, the whole razor blades in the apple, the poison candy has never really been a thing. And aside from a very few, usually the deaths on Halloween, they're always, and it's always a family member.
Yeah.
But Mr. O'Brien here, this is where this whole thing started. So we're going to check out his story.
That's right.
Today.
It was a rainy Halloween night in 1974, and the children of Deer Park, Texas were knocking on doors. The optician, Ronald Clark O'Brien, was out as well, watching over his kids, 8-year-old Timothy and 5-year-old Elizabeth, as they trick-or-treated that night as well. In their suburban home, see, this has got the classic setup. It's suburbia, it's early 70s, it's just a good hometown feel.
Right.
Except, he wasn't hometown. Joining them was O'Brien's neighbor Jim Bates and his young son as well. One of the houses the group approached had all its lights switched off, but the kids banged on the door anyway. The vague promise of candy was too enticing.
Mm-hmm. But there was no answer. Either the occupants were hiding or no one was home. But growing impatient, the kids ran off to find another house, and, well, Jim followed. Ronald, meanwhile, was left alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, catching up with the others a short while later, Ronald had good news. He produced a handful of 21-inch pixie sticks, tubes of powdered sugar candy. In case you don't know what that is,
it's
just
playground crack.
Little wonderful things, and it burns when you snort them. Turned out someone had been in the dark house all along. The sweets were handed out, one to each of the children there, one for Jim's other child, and another to a 10-year-old boy that Ronald had recognized from church as the group walked home.
That's right.
So basically, let's kind of catch up here. So kids are out trick-or-treating. Mm-hmm. We got dark house. Lights are all off. Kids go up, they knock anyway. Nobody answers. So everybody moves on to the next house, except for Ronald, who's like, oh. Shows up a few minutes later. Well, turns out somebody was there, guys.
Wow.
Look, I got some pixie sticks. Yeah. Here you go. And Timothy, here's one for you.
Do you remember when actually going house to house was a thing?
Yeah,
now parents just drive their kids around.
Mm-hmm.
Or trunk or treats or mall treats.
Yeah.
Or I remember getting bundled up as a kid. Not to digress or anything, just...
We used to go to the nice neighborhoods around and just, you'd find a place to park, get out, and walk the whole neighborhood.
Roundtree neighborhood, yes.
Mm-hmm. To this day, you still get the best candy.
You do. Full-size candy bars, even.
Right?
Yeah. Before bed, though, Timothy O'Brien was allowed one treat. The boy was allowed one treat from his evening haul, and he picked his pixie stick. Of course he did.
Of course.
But the powdered sugar was stuck in the straw, and it wasn't until his dad helped him to dislodge it that he could take his first mouthful. It did taste bitter, he complained, so Ronald grabbed him a glass of Kool-Aid to wash the taste away. Less than an hour later, poor Timothy was dead.
It was just a coincidence that I was working in the police intake that night, says former Harris County prosecutor Mike Hinton. Decades later on the phone from Houston, I got a call from the Pasadena Police Department. They told me an 8-year-old boy had died. He was rushed to the hospital, but he passed away. Wanting to get his investigation underway, Hinton called Dr. Joseph A. Jemesic, I'm guessing, chief medical examiner of nearby Harris County. I told him the situation, and he asked what the young man's breath smelled like. Says Hinton, a call to the morgue revealed that there was a scent of almonds coming from the boy's mouth. Dr. Jacimic said, that's cyanide.
The autopsy provided the medical examiner, or proved the medical examiner's hunch. Pathology said Timothy had consumed enough cyanide to kill 2 people. Tests were later found that the top 2 inches of the pixie stick had been packed with that poison.
Good Lord.
Oh, man. Police officers managed to recover the remaining sweets from the other children before any of them had a chance to dig in, and noted that whoever was responsible had used staples to steal the sticks, to seal the sticks after tampering with them. That's what saved another boy's life that night. They found him in bed with the sweet in his hand, but he wasn't strong enough to undo the staples.
Police took Ronald back to the neighborhood that the group had been trick-or-treating at so he could direct them to the house where he'd picked up the pixie sticks, but he was stumped. He just simply couldn't find the house and said he'd never seen the face of the person responsible, that they just emerged from a doorway and handed him the candy. Investigators, well, obviously, started to become a little suspicious. A few days go by, and it was incredibly frustrating, says Hinton. So they took O'Brien out again and were pretty firm with him. And the tactic worked. Ronald's memory was jogged. He pointed towards the house. And obviously, it was that one that had all those lights off before.
Right. Only the man had an alibi. The man who lived there wasn't at home, so officers went to his place of work, Houston's William Hobby Airport, and arrested him in front of his colleagues. And the mystery was over. Case closed. Yay! Although it wasn't. He had an alibi. It turned out he was working that night. His wife and daughter were home and had turned out the lights early as they'd run out of candy. This only magnified my suspicions, said Hinton. I'd also heard O'Brien was angry at his relatives for not staying up the night of Timothy's funeral, which was a bit odd.
And Ronald, it transpires, had also written a song about Jesus. And Timothy joining the Lord in heaven, and had grown, like you said, had grown aggravated about the family that wouldn't stay up late to watch a recording of the performance being broadcast on television. So obviously, kid dies on Halloween, poison candy, lots of media attention. So they recorded this whole thing at the funeral. He wanted his family to stay up late and watch the footage of it. They wouldn't do it. He gets mad. Something strange was starting to go on here, says him. Soon after, while he was teaching a class at the Pasadena Police Academy, detectives arrived at Hinton's door. They had discovered that Ronald had recently taken out a life insurance policy on both of his children, $10,000 per child in January of that year, and then a further $20,000 on each of them just a month before Halloween.
Insurance fraud.
Exactly. Investigators already knew that Ronald owed debts of over $100,000, so when they found out that he'd called his insurers to ask about a payout at 9 a.m. the morning after Timothy's death, it was clear that the case against him was beginning to come together.
It was.
It was a pretty open and shut case.
Yeah, it was pretty open and shut. Granted a warrant, the search for O'Brien's house offered up a pair of scissors with plastic residue attached, which was similar to that found on the cyanide-laced sweets. O'Brien was arrested and taken in for questioning. As the investigation continued, it turned out O'Brien was going to community college, and in class he would ask his professors questions like, what's more lethal, cyanide or another type of poison? Says Hilton, why would somebody ask that? It does lead credence to the question. I mean, kind of like, the lady we talked about a couple weeks ago on Monday that she got arrested for writing how to kill her husband, and then she killed her husband. Yeah. There's always a path leading back to people. You just got to look for it.
Another witness who also worked for a chemical company in Houston told police that a man had come to buy some cyanide, but left after being told that the smallest amount that he could buy was 5 pounds of the stuff.
What?
The man from the store said that he couldn't identify O'Brien, but he remembered that his customer was wearing a beige or a blue smock like a doctor. And says Hinton, O'Brien was an obstetrician, so that's exactly the uniform that he would be wearing.
I'm just shocked that you can buy cyanide over the counter like that.
The 70s, you could do just about anything.
Yeah, you could buy dynamite with like just a driver's license.
Yeah, nowadays you can't buy anything.
From like your local Ace Hardware. I mean, it was, 70s was a different time.
It was a different age.
A different world.
Yeah. Still, this was before DNA testing and contactless death. Yeah, contactless. I said that right. Debit cards, and police couldn't put the pixie stick in Ronald's hand or prove he had bought any cyanide, so the 30-year-old optician maintained his innocence.
Hinton remembers the case vividly. In the decades that have passed, his memories have remained sharp. O'Brien adored the attention, he said. I think he even loved it during the trial.
Yeah, sick, twisted, narcissistic person. Ronald entered a not guilty plea with his defense blaming the tainted candy on some untraceable boogeyman, a sick individual using the cover of Halloween to poison those children. But friends, family, and co-workers all testified against him, and now the press started calling him the Candyman. That's right. June 3rd, 1975, it just took 46 minutes for the jury to return a guilty verdict for one charge of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. An hour later, it was decided that Ronald would be executed by the chair.
Before and since the Deer Park poisoning, rumors of dodgy sweets have been handed out, as always surfaced around Halloween. But whether the fear is that the candies contain broken glass or razor blades, or that they're actually ecstasy pills, there's not much evidence to suggest that parents actually have anything to worry about. In 2000, a man in Minneapolis was charged with putting needles in the Snickers bars he'd handed out for trick-or-treaters, but the only victim that he claimed was a teenager who got a slight prick from the hidden sharp object. Since Timothy O'Brien, there hasn't been a single case where a child has actually died after consuming contaminated Halloween treats.
O'Brien's appeal avenues were explored and turned down for nearly a decade after the verdict. So it wasn't until March 31st of 84 when all routes of survival had been exhausted. He was finally put to death for his crime, but at this point the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled that electric chairs are cruel and unusual punishment, so he ended his life with lethal injection. Outside the Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville, a crowd of around 300 people gathered to hear if the Halloween prisoner, had met his end, shouting trick or treat and throwing candy at anti-death penalty protesters. And I digress. We actually were reading another article on this that in jail he had to be put aside in separate holding containment because the other inmates actually petitioned to have him removed during his execution.
I mean, pretty much, I've had several friends that have worked in jails over the past, and they'll tell you that pretty much if there's any crime that involves a child in any way, shape, or form, that those inmates have to be kept separate, or the other inmates they'll kill them.
Yes. The inmates reportedly petitioned to hold an organized demonstration on O'Brien's execution date to express their hatred of him. So you're bad.
The day you die,
the other inmates want to protest you.
Fun fact, wow. And side note, a little fun fact here that Ronald Clark O'Brien actually has his own IMDb page.
Oh,
he appeared. Yeah, well, I mean, back in 2014, he appeared in a documentary called Killer Legends. There was an interview with him in there, so that little documentary got Mr. O'Brien his own IMDb page. So,
there you go.
Little fun fact.
There you go. So that is the story of the Candyman.
The Candyman can kill his own kid with poison pixie sticks. And that's those the big pixie sticks, like the big plastic tube ones. They still have those.
Yeah, they do. You can buy them, and it's just like I said, that's currency on the playground still to this day.
Yeah, it is.
It's just weird to think that our childhood was messed up by one man.
So tomorrow, when your kids get all dressed up and get ready to go out trick-or-treating, just remember, if you get all worried about all that candy and stuff, you probably don't have anything to worry about.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah, now always be on the side of caution, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely don't take my word for it that there's nothing out there.
And remember to collect your candy tax.
Yes.
Collect your candy tax.
Indeed, yes, parents. Yes, the candy tax is an important thing.
Yes.
And your kids must pay that candy tax.
That helps them understand that they have to pay taxes.
Helps them prepare for
the tax saves. It's okay. I want those full-size Snicker bars.
That's right. But yes, thanks to one guy back in the 70s who ruined it for all of us.
Way to go, guy.
Yeah. So next Tuesday we kind of go back to the norm of talking about just whatever we feel like.
Yeah.
So
probably going to be something.
I don't know. I have no idea. What should we talk about next Tuesday?
Do they have Thanksgiving murders we could talk about?
We could talk about what really the real story of Thanksgiving.
Well, we should save that until closer to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's a sad episode waiting to happen.
That is a sad episode.
That's a sad story. If you don't know the real story of Thanksgiving, you should.
It'll make that turkey dawn just a little bit easier.
It'll make you think twice about that turkey.
No,
anyway, what should we talk about next Tuesday? Drop that in the comments below.
What, you think I should think twice about eating a turkey? Are you crazy?
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, guys. Just follow us.
Yeah. Like, share, comment, subscribe, click the bell.
Yeah, click subscribe. We want to do that.
Click the things.
Yeah, just click all the things.
Yeah.
And while you're clicking the things, go over to the Facebook page and get you one of those. That's right. That's the show t-shirt, guys. And it's yours for the low price of just $20. But we need to know 3 things before that can happen. We need to know the size that you want, the color of you want, and get this, guys, you have options. The color of the text that you want.
That's right.
No. Does anybody else give you options like that? No. You only get that here at the show.
Yeah, but they limit the options. We pretty much just say you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just send us in a private message letting us know what those 3 things are. We'll get that process. $20 for a short sleeve, $22 for a long. Get a hoodie for $25.
They're warm.
So warm,
it's time for the hoodies.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Your girlfriend needs a hoodie.
Yeah,
so buy it for yourself, and then
and then she'll probably steal both of them. But nonetheless,
one's got to get washed every now and then.
Well, yeah, that too. So tomorrow,
it's our favorite day of the week, guys.
Indeed, it is.
Mm-hmm. Is it Halloween?
And it's Halloween.
It's our
favorite day of the week and our favorite day of the year at the same time.
Join us, won't you? We'll see you tomorrow. Guys! I found the map to all the Russian clips of the day.
Apparently they're in Russia.
Yeah.
Раз метр, 2 метра, 3 метра, 4. Вот такой 4-метровый провал там под землей.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and if you liked what you see, go ahead and click on our faces to go ahead and subscribe to get all of our Monday through Friday stuff.
Indeed, and here's a couple of links down below that you can follow to watch more shows like it. Tons of great content right here at Scallywag Productions. We'll see you tomorrow.